Welcome to Ask a Therapist, a show where qualified therapists stop by to answer all your questions. So we got a question from Cynthia. What do you do if your boyfriend tells you that it takes a lot to love you? He went ahead to explain it is because we had a misunderstanding about communication. I'm struggling to let that go. It's been 1 year since we started dating.
I can imagine how Cynthia feels, especially after being told it's a lot to love you. It could mean many things. One, maybe she interpreted it like she is a burden, and so she could be feeling like a burden. And so for her, I'd like to advise that she takes time to think about that statement and internalize her. Did it bring out an insecurity in her? Does she already feel like she's a burden, or with the statement that she is a lot to be loved? Also, is it true that sometimes, because she has mentioned communication, is it that they've actually been having issues around communication? And so did the boyfriend just mention it out of anger, or because they were having a confrontation? It will be important for her to actually reflect on that. Also, just to say, perhaps she needs also to speak out and tell the partner that she actually felt how she felt, and that statement took time and stuck with her. Yeah, and so they need to sit down and address it. I also would like to mention issues with communication also usually bring a lot of back and forth in the relationship. When you are unable to communicate your needs effectively, you're unable to communicate what you'd want, then it means that the relationship could be having issues. So I think another thing that Cynthia needs to do is to also address the issues of communication. I'd like to mention that we communicate in different styles. Perhaps Cynthia and her boyfriend do have different ways and styles to communicate. So there are types of styles in communication. Maybe.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, when you were talking, I was just like, damn, what do I communicate? Does she mean like written word, or does she mean like, are you more verbal? Like, what are the different types of communication?
Okay, so we communicate in different styles. The first style is passive.
Oh, how is that like written? Okay,
Yeah.
school me. Passive, all right.
Passive.
Okay.
So most people who communicate passively are generally afraid of confrontation and basically afraid of communication. So they'd avoid to communicate. In most times we'd get them, let's just do what you think. They'd say it's like, yes, go with what you think is right, because they are more passive in the way they communicate. These people experience challenges in relationship because then they don't get to communicate their needs.
Yeah. Do they get frustrated about that? Because then it's like, I don't communicate my needs. I say, let's just do what you want.
Yes.
But maybe what you want is not what I really want. Yeah.
Yes. Beyond the passive type of communication or style, you get the aggressive. Now, for this type of style, the person wants to go with what they think is right.
You started talking and I was like, why does that sound like someone I know? Someone I see in the mirror.
Yeah. So they'd say statements like, you listen, let me tell you, you are wrong and you need to listen. So they're more aggressive in their way of communication. And even when they communicate in their body language, it's more aggressive, and they always want their way when they communicate.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah. So passive, aggressive. Yes. All right. Next.
Yes. So next you're going to combine the two. There's the passive, aggressive. For these ones, they want to communicate. They see when there's confrontation, they want to communicate, but they don't do it directly. So it could be in how they carry themselves out in their language, in the back statements, in how they behave. They try to communicate or confront without actually doing it. Yeah. So they become passive aggressive.
Because we use that statement a lot, but we don't really understand it.
Yes.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. So if you have a passive communicator and an aggressive communicator, it can fuel even the arguments more, right?
Lots of conflict is bound to happen. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Back to this question.
There's one that I didn't mention.
Oh, so there are four.
Yes.
Okay.
There is now the assertive.
Maybe I'm assertive. This sounds nice. I don't need to be aggressive. This
I
sounds
think you are assertive.
okay.
actually,
Okay,
yes.
what's assertive?
So the assertive type style of communication is where now you open up and speak your needs with more of I statements and now allowing the other person also to communicate. So communication is done freely and in an open way. Yeah.
I think I am that
Yeah.
half because like I've made a lot of progress like advocating for my needs in a relationship without feeling like, oh, you're being too much, or like don't say that like that's childish or whatever. What I struggle with is when you let the other person advocate for their needs or speak or say something that maybe you didn't know you were doing, or like, and it feels bad. I don't like that part. I like to think I'm doing great throughout. So that's the bit I'm like, why does it have to be two ways? Let me advocate my needs,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've made progress to that because I did in therapy find out I was more of aggressive. Like I thought my way is the right way. So I would push my way or even implement my way without communicating.
Yeah.
I got that reality check in therapy. So I'm assertive-ish.
Yeah.
And so in Cynthia's issue, there's also the element of it could be real that maybe what you're navigating is too much for your partner to handle. And sometimes we get into relationships and we make the person we're with, our therapist, our best friend, our nutritionist, our fitness,
Yes.
and it can be too much, right?
Yeah.
Is it okay to say when something is too much? And can a couple work through that, or is too much like the end?
There is nothing wrong with saying. It's actually in how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So pointing out that perhaps this communication need is actually really great for the partner, and they have noticed that it is causing issues in the relationship. So them pointing out is not wrong. However, Cynthia should also reflect on it and see if her emotional needs are also being met in the relationship. It's not always that you have to leave a relationship when something has been pointed out. Sometimes it is possible to actually work it out because he pointed it out. Yes. Yeah.
I like that because when we hear we're too much, we think we're too much in general in life. It could be maybe your emotional needs are not being met in this relationship. It could be fixable. It could be not fixable. That's a really good pointer, actually, because somebody who's scared of being a burden to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I have to that's something that you've taught me. That's all for this episode. If you have a question to ask a therapist, please drop it in our question form. A link to it is in the show notes. Catch you next week for the next episode of Ask a Therapist.